Now this one here is just a quickie on saving the bugs, the yeast. Now what I do, a lot of guys have really complex ways that they deal with this. I don't. I got a really simple way. It seems to work fine. I do reuse yeast. Mostly I reuse the Cephalo 05 and the White Yeast 1056 because they're the ones I use the most. When the fermenter is done, and I don't secondary ferment, when the fermenter is done, then I draw the beer off and I take what's left and I put it in 2 bottles. I only got one of them out here. But I take about half of it and put it in one of these bottles, which is probably about 6 or 7 ounces. And I put the date on it. I really should be putting the generation, but I usually just go a couple months and dump it. You know, figure they just go buy new. Anyway, a lot of guys boil jars and all this crazy stuff. I don't do any of that. I'll show you what I do the day before I am ready to use this yeast. I don't actually have to do this, but I usually do. But I'll show you what I do. Okay, I'm going to take this little cuppy thing and I'm going to put about 1/8 of a cup of sugar in this silly thing. Dump it in there. Put some water in it. Not very much. Notice I'm not even really being picky on this stuff. Goes on the stove. I'm going to get it to a boil and then drop the boil level way down and let it boil for 10 minutes. Then I'm going to pour it in here and I'll show you how it works when I got it done. Okay, the jars I put this in, you know, these are just pasta jars, like they're not quarts, but anyway, most guys say you're supposed to boil these things, put the lids and everything in a big pot and boil them, and that'll disinfect them. And yeah, I guess that's fine, but I'm the El Cheapo guy. I take these things and put them in my disinfecting solution that I use for everything else, leave it there for a few minutes, and it's ready to go. Okay, my happy little pot here is just bubbling away. Okay, if I leave it up there, I'll end up with a dry pan. So, I turn it down really low. So it just gives me a slow boil. 10 minutes, set the timer. I'm going to pour it in that silly thing and it'll be done. Okay, with our little half sink here, more or less full of water, and this pot laid on here with a little weight on top of it. Now we're just going to wait. I'll probably come back in 10 or 15 minutes and it'll be nice and cold. Okay, it's cooled off. So I'll shook it up and stuff. Now I put it on fairly tight, not too tight, and then I put it in the sink because it's going to make a mess. It's going to probably overflow. So it's ready for tomorrow when I brew beer. Okay, you heard it. There it is. It's already overflowed. You can see where the bubbles have come out. Been sitting there probably 2 or 3 hours. That's going to go into my wort as soon as I get it off a boil and get it cooled down. That's the way I do it. I mean, I may not have mentioned it, but that was sucrose, table sugar that I used. That's what I use most of the time. I've used DME and dextrose, but it always seems to come out about the same. Okay, here we are on brew day. It's all bubbled up and stuff and done all its thing. All I'm going to do is just wipe this thing off and then do some disinfecting. Then I just turn it upside down, the disinfecting solution, and I'm going to aerate the wort and pour that stuff in.